So as we know, like risk is something what we expect, and what we get. The difference between what we expect, like something, and what we get. Let's say we are expecting X percent and we are getting some, like we are expecting X percent, we are getting X plus 1%, or we are getting X minus 1%, let's say. So we expect this, but we are getting this, or we are getting this, and this deviation from the expectation or mean is nothing but due to the element called risk, correct? So in the world of finance, like whenever you invest in an investment option, they say your investment manager would say that we will deliver a mean return or average of 10%. Like the portfolio what will make for you will give you an average return of 10%. Let's say this is a normal distribution curve. So 10% is what you will get, is what they are like promising. But you may get 12% or you may get 8%. Am I right? If you get 12 or if you get 8, the deviation is because of that deviation. The deviation in the returns is nothing but what is measured by the term called standard deviation. And what are we measuring? The element called risk. Am I right?
Yes.
So like risk cannot always be taken negatively. See, if we get higher returns, we are taking more risk. So we are getting higher returns. We are more satisfied or happy. Isn't it so? Yes, we are more satisfied and we are happy. So when some amount of risk can give us some higher returns, we are happy with that and we want to take that risk. Okay, so we should not take the risk always as something which is negative. That negative perception, like in general terms, risk can be something which can cause damage to you. Okay, but sometimes it may give you good returns also. Sometimes, like for example, if you are going to Bengaluru from Hyderabad, if you're going to Bengaluru, three friends started and they started in a sedan, and after 200 meters, they have to go with the speed of 80 kilometers per hour as per the government norms on a highway. After 200 kilometers, this particular, suppose this is a sedan, Ciaz, Honda City, and this is one car, Verna. Okay, so the guy who is in Ciaz took a diversion and he took a right diversion and is going through a hillock. That means a hilly area, hilly terrain, and he will. So the time to reach Bengaluru is 10 hours. So he is reaching in 6 hours. He's taking a very high risk, correct? So he's saving 4 hours. That is his reward. In that 3 hours, he can see a movie. 1 hour, he can go for shopping, and again come back to Hyderabad. Can he do that? Yes, he can do that. So like he has taken a higher amount of risk and the return or the reward what he has got is 4 hours has been saved. We can understand the risk was high and the reward is also very much, isn't it so? So this is not bad until and unless that risk has not done some damage to you, because taking that high risk in the sense he's going through a hilly terrain, it is avoided. That route is it is more often avoided. So he may also meet with an accident, correct? That can happen. Now, the guy who is going with Varna, like he is going with the speed of 80 kilometers per hour. He's going with the speed of 80 kilometers per hour constantly, and he will reach in almost say 10 to 12 hours. So there's no reward. The only reward is he is reaching safely. Okay. So he has not taken a very high risk. He has not taken a very low risk. So he's getting certain returns. That means exactly 10 hours he will take, almost 10 hours. Okay. Let us rule out this one. So if like this guy is going with the speed of 100 kilometers per hour, he may reach in 9 hours. So 1 hour he is getting a reward. Okay. So this is what. And someone who is going with a speed of 60 kilometers per hour may reach in 14 hours. So he is taking very less amount of risk and almost he is getting negative returns. That means, you know, with a high risk you get high returns, with low risk you get low returns, correct? Yeah. So since we have understood what is risk, now it is very important to understand the way to manage that. See, risk has to be managed. That's understood fact, because since risk can cause damage even at times. Okay, so that has to be managed. And how will you manage that risk? So that the risk is managed. See, we have seen right now, risk can be good and risk can either be bad as well. Okay, so sometimes some kind of risk can cause a big loss to us. Okay, like for example, if a banker is giving loan to some person by not properly assessing the credit worthiness of that person, then that can lead to what?
Default, yeah.
Default, correct. So if the banker is here, the risk to banker is he has not properly checked the credit worthiness, or the documents what he has got were not authentic documents or something. They did not cross verify, so they had some leniency risk. That means some kind of leniency they have shown in cross verifying the documents. They did not do a proper background check, and all those have created a risk, and the credit risk has been created that can lead to default. So that's a very big risk to the bank, correct? So since all the risks organization is exposed to, and they have to manage those risks. So the risk management process is nothing but the one with which is nothing but the done, or which is known for managing the risk, and the risk managers of a company would be doing the risk management. So how they do the risk management? First, they identify the risk tolerance levels of the organization. That means how much risk an organization can absorb or take. And then they identify and measure the risks that the organization faces. That means they will see to what risk the organization is exposed to. Banks are exposed to credit risk. Banks are exposed to default risk. Banks are exposed to legal risk. Okay, banks are exposed to the certain kind of risks like fraud risks. Correct, fraud risk. So all
Hmm.
these risks are the ones to which the bank is exposed. So they want to measure to what extent the risks can have an impact on the bank and how to minimize that. Okay,
Yes.
modify and monitor this risks. Now, so the process does not, see, we cannot eliminate the risk. Of course, risk can be minimized but cannot be eliminated. So the process does not seek to minimize or eliminate all of this. The organization may increase its exposure to risk if to risks it decides to take, because it is better able to manage and respond to them. See, how come you can minimize? See, every time, how will you kind of deal with the risk? Sometimes you have to you can minimize the risk by three things. You can either transfer that risk to third party. That is, I'm speaking about insurance, correct?
Huh.
Sometimes you should prevent yourself from doing that, from involving yourself in that risky task. That means if we know that if we are going through a road and we should not take right diversion, because that is a dangerous area, even though there is one reward to that. That means if you take that area and you go, you will reach early, but still they have mentioned that it is not suitable for vehicles. But so what you have to do, you have to prevent yourself from going into that, correct?
Yes.
So prevent. And third thing, sometimes what happens is you have no other option or remedy. You have to take that risk. You have to, okay, and you have to take that risk, and then but that too in a very calculated manner, correct? Or you have no other remedy but to take. So then again, maybe that can cause damage, or you may kind of save yourself. For example, many a time see in the television, in the news channel, that there is a bridge here and which is overflowing because of a flood. Okay, we always see this, correct?
Huh.
And there we always, there is a lorry which is going through this. We see and we say such kind of stupid this lorry driver is, or the bus driver is, who is taking these people through that flooded bridge. We really make fun of, some people may make fun of them, some people may abuse them, whatever it is, but we don't know what is their problem, their trauma. Maybe they are stuck since 2 days and they have no other alternative or option, and they
Mm-hmm.
have to go through that. Sometimes they may take that risk and they may reach safely, sometimes they may submerge. Okay, but they have no other option, correct?
Yes.
So here, of course, the risk will be taken only if they think that they could reach safely, because 10 vehicles have passed away. We cannot rule out one vehicle being unlucky or something, because suddenly the water that is uncertainty. So we have no answers for uncertainty, but we have answers for risk. Correct?
Okay.
We cannot rule out uncertainty.
So your voice is breaking.
We have answers for risk.
Actually, your voice is breaking.
Just a second. Just a second. Can you open that? Yeah, 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay.
2 minutes, Abhijit. Can you hear my voice now?
Yeah, I can hear your voice.
Can you hear my voice now? Yeah. Okay. So the process does not seek to minimize or eliminate all of this. The organization may increase its exposure to risk it decides to take because it is better able to manage. So sometimes they may take the risk and they'll take higher risk because they think that they can definitely overcome that. Okay, or they can manage it. So the organization may decrease its exposure to risk than it is less that risks that it is less well able to manage and respond to by making organizational changes. So yeah, see, sometimes organizations may take risk because they think that they are able to manage it. Organization may decrease its exposure to risk because they think that they may not able to cope up with that. Correct? So for that, what they can do, they can they can take insurance, they can purchase insurance, or they can enter into hedging transactions. See, for example, you are buying some buying some stocks, or you want to do some trading. So you can hedge, you can do some hedging. Now you can try to minimize the risk from that, isn't it so? Through hedging, isn't it so? Hedging is nothing but the way with which you can try to minimize your risk. Now, so through these choices, the firm aligns the risks it takes with its risk tolerances from various types of risk. That means the firm has to see how much risk they can tolerate, or how much risk they can kind of bear, and then they should understand the risk tolerance levels, and then they should move further to take any kind of risk. Now, risk uncertainty. Uncertainty is something which we don't have an answer, but risk is something we can easily manage, or we can kind of minimize. So is something to be avoided by an organization or an investment portfolio. Returns above the risk-free rate are earned by taking on risk. So the first base, see, first of all, you'll earn the risk-free rate. Then again, as you increase your risk, the returns may increase. It's a known fact. While returns for any period are not under the control of managers, the specific risk and overall level of the risk, overall level of risk the organization takes are under their control, of course. See, that's what is risk management. No? So we can think of risk management as determining organizational risks. That means first they study the risks what are to which the organization is exposed to, and then determining the optimal bundle of risk for the organization and implementing risk mitigation strategies to achieve the bundle of risk. That means first they study to what risk the organization is exposed to, then they will make strategies to minimize that, and they will implement that, and they'll try to mitigate the risk. Okay. Now, so we can describe the principles of risk management here in the framework that can be applied broadly, not only to firms or organizations in general, but also just a second. So we can describe the principles of risk management here in the framework that can be applied broadly, not only to firms or organizations in general, but also to the management of investment portfolios and financial firms. That means risk management is not only something which is restricted to the companies or organizations, but many of the investment managers, the ones who are running the consultancies, from whom the clients take consulting related to investments or making portfolios or etc. I mean to say the financial firms, they can also do the risk management, apply the concepts of risk management to minimize the risk for their clients. Am I right? Now,
Yes.
how does this happen? So first, an overall risk management framework encompasses several activities. So what happens in the risk management framework? So these are all the steps which are followed. First, establishing processes and policies for risk governance, like how to overcome the risk. They make this, they set some process and they make some policies. Then they study the risk tolerance levels of the organization. Then they identify and measure the existing risks. Then they try to manage and mitigate risks to achieve optimal bundle of risks. They monitor risk exposures over time. They communicate that across the organization what are they doing related to risk management, and they always perform the risk analysis functions. Okay, and they do that by making some strategies. Define risk governance and describe elements of effective risk governance. See, risk governance is nothing but the top level management. The board of directors are the ones who are responsible for governance in the company. Am I right? So risk director or risk chief risk officer is the one who would do that. So risk governance refers to senior management's determination of risk tolerance. Like they will first study to what levels the organization can tolerate the risk, and then they'll make the strategies related to the mitigation of that. Okay, the framework what they'll make, and they'll oversight of the risk management function. Risk governance seeks to manage risk in a way that supports overall goals of organization, so it can achieve the best business outcome consistent with the organization's overall risk tolerance. So see, whatever they have to come out with, the solution should be based upon the risk tolerance levels of the organization. Very clear. Risk governance provides organization-wide guidance on the risks that should be pursued in an efficient manner. Okay, so once they make the governance, just a second. So risk governance provides organization-wide guidance. So risk governance, what does it do? Since you have made all the policies, or like uh, how to minimize the risk, you have made some strategies related to that. So risk governance provides organization-wide guidance on the risks that should be pursued in an efficient manner. That means what risks they can take, what risks they can limit, and what they have to reduce, what they can avoid. You understood, Abhijit?
Yeah.
So risk management committee can provide a way for various parts of the organization to bring up issues of risk measurement, how to measure the risk or quantify the risk, integration of risks. Like, many of the tasks are with the risks. So you have to, sometimes I said you already, you have to take the risk. You have no other remedy. You can sometimes avoid that risky task, and sometimes you can transfer that to the third party, and the ways to mitigate undesirable risks. Now, explain how risk tolerance affects risk management. See, risk tolerance is nothing but the ability or the strength to withstand the losses if you are taking that. Okay. So when analyzing risk tolerance, management should examine risks that may exist within the organization as well as those that may arise from outside. The various risks the firm is exposed to must each be considered and weighted against the expected benefits of bearing those risks. and how these fit the overall goals of the organization. So that's what it is, Abhijit. What are they saying is, first, to the various risks the firm is exposed to. Okay, and to must each be considered and weighted against the expect. See, sometimes what happens, we may take a risk. We should see that what are the benefits we are getting from taking that risk, correct?
Yes, of course.
And how that those benefits can also have a positive impact or positive effect on the organization, or it will fit the goals of the organization. Now, next comes the risk budgeting. Describe risk budgeting and its role in risk governance. See, risk budgeting is what? First of all, budgeting is nothing but financial planning. See, budgeting, the motive of budgeting is to reduce unnecessary expenses or unnecessary wastage of money. So risk budgeting is a process of allocating firm resources to assets. That means what are the resources you have, and what you can allocate to different assets or investments. That means if I have some I have some $1 million. This is the resource I have. How I can allocate them? How I can allocate this $1 million in different investment options, correct?
Mm-hmm.
For that, what I do risk budgeting. That means for that, if I need to spend this I need to allocate this $1 million, which is a resource I have, into different investment options. I should first study the risk involved in those investment options. That's a part of risk budgeting, correct?
Yes.
For that reason, I can use the methods called VAR. I can see the portfolio duration and the returns. The duration is nothing but the time period within which you may get the money what you have invested. Okay, and or the returns variance, how the returns would vary in the different investment options. Then I can I can make this by studying those, create a budget, and then I can allocate my resources on that investment option. Can I do that? Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Now there's a question, identify financial and non-financial sources of risk. See, financial risks are nothing but wherever the money's exchange is involved, there comes the financial risk. Credit risk. If you are not properly checking or judging the credit worthiness of the counterparty, then you can face this risk. Liquidity risk. You have invested in some investment option and that is not getting converted into cash very soon. So can I say that is a liquidity risk?
Yes, so that's a liquidity risk, definitely.
Risk of loss when selling an asset at time and market conditions make the sales price less than the, that's what, first of all, it is not getting converted into cash easily, and secondly, what we are expecting we are not getting. That's liquidity risk. Market risk is nothing but about the market crash, uncertainty about the market prices. Non-financial risk is nothing but operational risk, whereby there can be some human error or some kind of cyber risk or interruptions in the business. Solvency risk is nothing but we don't have funds to sustain. Regulatory risk is nothing but extraordinary rules and regulations imposed. Whenever it comes to political risk, I'll take one name. This name is more than enough in the world to know, for people to understand what is political risk. And Kim Jong-un, the existing political risk, no one wants to go to North Korea. Governmental is Pakistan, we can take. They in the sense are always rolling over their debts. Okay, paying a debt by taking a debt, all the stupidity what they do. I don't know who are the economists they have. So governmental risk is nothing but they don't have a strong government, and political risk is like having some political unrest. Okay, some dictator ruling a country. Legal risk is nothing but we have taken some land or something and that has gone into litigation, so legal risk. One of the examples. Model risk is some models we are using for studying some risk, but those models are not working out or giving us desired results. Then tail risk is extreme loss, correct? This is what is nothing but normal distribution. We are 95% confidence interval. We are into this part. So can I say this is tail risk? Yes. Extreme events, shocks. Accounting risk is nothing but accounting fraud, correct? Policies or estimates that have not been correct in making some accounting judgments. For individual risks such as risk of death, mortality risk or longevity risk. So mortality risk is what if someone dies, then what?
Yeah,
We
it's
have already studied in the case of insurance companies.
yeah.
So when someone has taken an insurance policy very recently and he dies, then the company has to give lot of money to them. The premiums have not been received that much. So suppose someone has taken a policy and in the 4th month he has died, then what? Risk to this company. And longevity risk is nothing but how much what we say. What do you can you give an example of longevity risk?
Yeah, somebody living longer than expected. What else can I say?
So for that reason, what will happen? The annuity. Suppose someone has taken a policy, annuity policy, okay, by giving some lump sum amount to the company, and the company has promised to give them perpetual payments, like perpetuity. So till the time he survives, he'll get the payments. That is longevity risk for the company, correct?
Agreed. Yeah.
So that is due to good health or having some like he's someone who is surviving for a long period of time. Now, next is the describe the methods for measuring and modifying risk exposures and factors to consider in choosing among methods. So these are the methods with which you can measure the risk. Okay, standard deviation already have explained you. Beta. Beta is the standard deviation measures total risk, that is systematic as well as unsystematic risk. Systematic risk is nothing but the risk of market. That means if market crashes, everyone has to suffer. Unsystematic risk is nothing but it is the risk specific to a particular company. Like some fraud happens in a company, that company will lose will be in losses, but that is not going to impact the market as a whole. Okay. Some impact, but not the entire market will be crashing. Like Adani stocks have fallen down. Markets were down, but it did not crash. Then beta is only systematic risk, only about the market. Duration is nothing but is a measure of price sensitivity of debt securities to changes in interest rates. So if the interest rates change, like interest rates are increasing, how it will impact or decrease the securities value is what is studied by duration, correct? And then derivative risks, like such as sometimes referred to as Greeks, option Greeks. Delta, it studies the sensitivity of derivatives values to price of underlying asset. That means if the assets prices are like fluctuating, how it will have an impact on the derivatives prices. For example, futures or options. Underlying asset is something on which you have taken or on which you have made the contracts. So if these underlying prices fluctuate, how the contract prices would fluctuate, correct?
Yes.
So gamma is nothing but sensitivity of delta to see, this is sensitivity of delta. That means changes in delta due to changes in price of underlying asset, not changes in the derivative value, changes in delta itself. That means this whole phenomena you are studying the change in this phenomena. Understood?
Huh.
Gamma studies delta. Delta studies change in asset due to change in derivative value due to changes in asset. Due to asset, how the delta changes. That is what is studied by gamma. Correct?
Yes.
Sensitivity of the derivative values to volatility of the price in underlying asset. Vega. This was almost like the same. That is not the price directly, but the volatility. That means fluctuation. This studies the fluctuation, not the price. Correct?
Hmm.
The deviation. Rho, how the derivatives values changes due to the changes in the RFR, risk-free rate. This is what you study with rho. And then tail risk you can study with the expected shortfall, okay, or the VAR, conditional VAR. Okay, VAR you already know, we have already studied this VAR concept, correct? We have already
Yes,
discussed about the VAR concept, am I right?
we did have a small discussion, but we did not go in length actually.
Okay, no problem, we can discuss. Now, so this is what is the normal distribution. Suppose there is a bank. I'm not explaining the VAR calculations and all. VAR interpretation I'm explaining you right now. Okay. See, VAR calculation and everything we can study when we'll be doing the chapter in FRM. But interpretation is what is there here right now. How to interpret something with the value at risk. So value at risk is nothing but some value which is at risk or you may lose. You already know that. You're confident that some value you may lose. Every business is confident of some values. For example, if there is a sole trader, that means I'm speaking about a single owner of a business. He knows that in a given year, whatever revenues he generates, of that 10% is going to lose. Suppose he has generated a revenue of $1 million. So 10% of that, that means 0.1 million he will definitely lose. Every businessman knows that. Even a bank knows that the bank is going to lose 1 lakh rupees. So bank deals with lot of money, $1 billion or something in a year. Abhijit, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. So far, so good.
So let's say a bank knows that on a given day. So let's say some amount 10 lakh rupees or $1 million is the annual loss. So we'll say on a given day how much bank is going to lose. So 2,739 rupees a bank is going to lose. I have just divided this 10 lakhs with 365. Okay. So let's say this is not 10 lakhs. This is like 1 crore. Okay. 1 crore. 1 crore. So 27,397 rupees a bank is going to lose in a given day. And that they are 95% confident that on a given day they can lose 27,397 rupees. Correct?
Yes.
So this is not something worrisome for them. What is worrisome for them is 5% they are 95% they are confident that they're going to lose this. 5% they can lose more than this even. For that they have to prepare themselves. That is what you study with the VAR. This is the value at risk. Value at risk is nothing but some asset on lose money. So this is the VAR and 5% the chance are that can be more than this. Okay. Then conditional VAR is nothing but is expected value of a loss given that the loss exceeds a minimum amount. Okay. So expected value of a loss, they have set some conditions. For example, relating this to the VAR measure presented previously, the conditional VAR would be expected loss given that the loss was at least $1 million. See, if the loss is to the extent of $1 million, then what can be to what extent the loss may go? That is what they're studying with conditional VAR. Okay.
Okay.
Hello. See,
Yes,
it's very simple. Is expected value. So you are going to multiply with some probability. So is the expected value of a loss given that the loss exceeds the minimum amount. If the loss goes beyond $1 million, okay, then how much loss, to what extent we can have a loss. Okay. So it's very similar to measure of loss given default. Suppose the loss is going to be $1 million. Okay. The chances of loss is going to be $1 million, let's say. So loss given default, if the default, so chances of default is 30%. So if the default happens, okay, loss given default is how much? 7 lakhs, correct? That's what, no?
Yes, sir.
Is similar to measure of loss given default. So the probability of default is this. So if the default happens, we are going to lose that much. Okay.
Sure.
So if I have to give you an example of conditional VAR, I can give you just a second. Conditional var. So if I have to write something, one day 99% conditional var of 12 million means that expected loss of the worst 1% scenarios over one day period is 12 million. I can write it here. So conditional var. So C var. Conditional var is the extended risk measure of var. That quantifies the average loss over a specified period of time. Unlikely scenarios beyond the confidence level. So for example, if I say one day 99% conditional var is $12 million. Okay.
Okay.
What do you mean by this?
That in one day there is a
So means that expected loss of the worst 1% scenarios over a period over a one day period is $12 million. Okay. Expected loss of worst 1% scenarios. Okay. Over a one day period is $12 million. That means this much is the loss I will be having in one day. Worst case scenario. Okay. That's what it is. So in the worst case scenarios, I can say my loss is going to be 99%. I'm confident that my loss is going to be $12 million. Am I right?
Yes.
So we are studying the var to a very like deeper extent. That means we are studying it not to the tune of 95%, but we are taking it to 99%. To that extent, we are studying it. One more point I'll say you. So this particular conditional var gives us the input about the expected losses. Okay, so expected losses is what we measure with the conditional var. With var we come to know about the range of the loss. That means range of the loss is what? To the amount how much we are going to lose. Am I right?
Yes.
So with var you know about the range. With conditional var you know about the expected losses. Correct? So if I have to give you some more points, just a second, I'll give you. So actually conditional var is much more superior. Okay. I'll write it some points here. So actually we should have a like example for this. But if you want to understand that, simply we can understand like much. It is like something which tells you about the expected losses. Okay. So CVAR is similar to the measure of loss given default that is used in estimating risk for debt securities. So how will you calculate the loss given default?
The exposure at default into probability.
Yeah, so if you take a loss given default example, a very good example can be seen. Now, suppose you are a borrower and you have taken a 1 lakh dollars loan. Okay. And and later, like suppose after 2 years, you have taken a loan for of how much? 1 lakh. Okay. 2 years later, the amount left on the loan is how much? Let's say 75,000, for example. And then you default, for example. Okay. So what is the exposure of exposure at default? The company is going
principal.
to lose how much? 75,000, correct?
Yes.
This is loss given default.
Yes.
That's what. So the default loss given default is nothing but after like some 1 or 2 years or 3 years, the amount left over, and then you default, you're not going to pay that amount. Then we can say that is loss given default. Okay. So formula is there for loss given default. So loss given default formula is nothing but let's say one more example I'll give you with the formula. Imagine that a borrower takes a 4 lakhs loan, $4 lakhs loan. Okay. And some installment payments he is making. And like some estimation, like see the borrower is facing some financial difficulties. See, many of the borrowers they face, and then some estimation has been made that borrower has 80% of like 80% chances that he can default. Understood, na?
Oh.
And the outstanding balance is 3 lakhs. That means he has made a payment of 1 lakh, it seems. So 4 lakhs loan he has taken. He has faced some financial difficulties. We estimated that the probability of default from him would be 80%, correct?
Okay.
And then if someone asks you a question, what is the loss given default? That means if he defaults, then what is the loss? Then what will you do? So you will take 3 lakhs, 1 minus 0.80, correct?
Oh.
Isn't it so?
Yes.
So like so 80% is nothing but the we have estimated the borrower has 80% of default. That means probability of default. Okay. So if he defaults, then what is the loss we are going to have? We're going to have 0.1 minus 0.80 is how much? 0.20, correct?
Yes.
So how much is that? 60,000. Am I right?
Yes.
So what is the loss if he defaults? We will get how much? 60. How much
Okay.
we will lose?
24.
2,40,000. Okay.
Oh.
That's what. So loss given default is this. So I will write a total exact formula for this. You can follow up that formula. We have that in the FRM book. So loss given default is nothing but 1 minus a recovery rate. Okay. 1 minus
Recovery rate.
So if the recovery rate is this much, then the loss is this much. We're not loss given default. So loss given default is nothing but exposure at risk. So here, how much was the exposure at risk into 1 minus recovery rate? Okay. What was the loan we have given to that person? 4 lakhs. And how much did we recover? 3 lakhs. So what is our exposure amount? 1 lakh we recovered. So how much is our exposure amount, Abhijit?
1 lakh we recovered.
See,
And,
4 lakhs the loan we have given. 1 lakh we recovered. So
okay.
how much is the exposure amount now after financial difficulties he has faced?
We
3
got
lakhs, correct?
3 lakhs exposure to it.
So 3 lakhs is the exposure amount we have. So 3 lakhs into 1 minus 80% chances that we will recover. Okay.
Yes.
The recovery rate is 80%. So what is the loss given default? 60,000. Okay.
Huh.
So if the recovery rate is 20%, then the loss given default is
Higher.
2,40,000. That's it. Fine. Shall we move forward?
Yes.
Subjective and market-based estimates of risk. See, stress testing and scenario analysis. See, what is stress testing? Keeping ourselves in, suppose a company is running its operations, and what has happened is, let's say there are like the revenues what they are like generating has decreased drastically. Why the revenues have been decreasing is there's a recession in the market. Okay,
Okay.
there is a recession in the market, and suddenly there is a strike in the company. The laborers have strike. Why? Because they are not happy or satisfied with the wages what they have been paid by the company, so they
Okay.
want hike in wages. So again there is a stress on the company, correct? Due to recession the revenues are not like going high, and there's a strike and the production has stopped. So how will they survive in that case? This is the
Uh,
way to estimate the risk, na? If we are in this kind of stress, then how we will survive?
yes, sir.
And scenario analysis is nothing but keeping the company in different scenarios and collecting data regarding those scenarios and seeing how will company survive in those during those scenarios, correct?
Okay.
So see, many of the risks can be studied, but some certain risks cannot be quantified, like operational risks. It's very difficult to quantify them because every organization will be it's different to different organizations, correct?
Agree.
See, there are some common operational risks, but some operational risks are common, are specific to some organization. Is it? It's very difficult to predict what kind of risk that can be, and what kind of impact it can have on organization. So one way to approach this problem is to examine a large sample of firms. So collect the samples and again find out the average. On an average in that particular industry, whatever the firms are operating, what kind of risks they have faced. We can collect some data and we can estimate. Isn't it so?
Huh.
Then unexpected changes in tax laws or regulatory environment. This is also very tough to study, or political immediate suddenly a political change, and then again all the factors would be the factors would differ, and some different kind of risks we may face. So these are certain areas where we can study only by taking some estimates or assigning some probabilities, and we can try to study the magnitude of risk what we will have and how to mitigate them. Now, modifying risk exposure. So risk management does not seek to eliminate all risks. See, we cannot, of course. So what we can do, either we can accept, either we can transfer, or we can avoid, or we can shift. So one way to avoid risk is nothing but to not engage in such activities which are very risky. Correct or wrong?
Agreed. Yeah. Avoid it.
You should not go into such risks which are whereby there is a risk. We should avoid those activities or those tasks, and we can prevent ourselves from that kind of risk. So either we can avoid. Sometimes I already said you, like, we need to accept. We have no other alternative. Either we can transfer the risk to third party like insurance companies, or we can shift the risk. That's what we can do. Or else we can reduce the risk through diversification even, correct?
Huh.
What do you do if in case of portfolio? What do? In portfolio management, you'll be studying about diversification. Why you diversify? Because you don't want to put all the investment in one company. If you do that, then if the company goes bankrupt, or if there's a loss in the company, you lose the entire investment. So it's better to diversify your investments. Am I right? So that risk can be minimized, or insurance you can take, or you can transfer the risk. That's what you can do now. Surety bond, an insurance company has agreed to make a payment if a third party fails to perform under the terms of contract or agreement with the organization. Suppose you have given money to someone. What is this surety bond? So here there is some point here. Yeah. See what happens if you have taken an insurance from an insurance company. Insurance company again takes insurance from some other company. They also do this. Isn't it
Yeah.
so?
Reinsurance.
Reinsurance, yeah. So with a surety bond, an insurance company has agreed to make. So they give you some bonds. So if the third party fails, they will make the payment like on behalf of those people. For example, a company may be exposed to losses if a key supplier does not deliver on time, slowing a project and resulting in penalty payments by the company. Insurance also issue fidelity bonds, which will pay for losses that result from employee theft or misconduct. That means for every kind of risk you are taking an insurance, and insurance company can give you. The names are different, correct? The product name is different. So managements that purchase insurance, surety bonds or fidelity bonds have determined the benefits of risk reduction are greater than the cost of insurance. That's what you have to see, the cost benefit analysis. The cost which you are spending for those kind of risks. That means you are taking insurance you're taking those you're making insurance contracts from the insurer, and you are paying some hefty premiums to them. So is that justified? That means the benefit what you'll get is more than the cost which you are spending. That should be insured first, correct?
Huh.
Risk shifting is the way to change the distribution of possible outcomes and accomplished primarily with derivative contracts. For example, financial firms that do not want to bear currency risk on some foreign currency denominated debt securities can use forward currency contracts, future contracts, or swaps. Risk shifting is nothing but taking derivatives and trying to reduce or minimize the risk. Then choosing, that is nothing but what? Risk shifting, correct? Shifting the risk. Isn't it so?
Huh.
Choosing among risk modification methods depends like what kind of product or what kind of method suits you. And then cost to benefit analysis is very important. If you want to take an insurance really to minimize your risk, then you should see the premiums what you are paying and the benefit what you'll get for that. So cost to benefit analysis you have to do, and you should try to take the most economical ones or the most economical means of minimizing your risk, correct? That means the cost which you are incurring for minimizing your risk should be the minimal one, correct? And it should not have an impact on your profits. That means like the expenses what you're going to show in your books, it should not eat away your profits. That means you should not overspend on your risk mitigation like products or strategies. Okay, so this is what is the chapter all about. We will do one more question on loss given default. Shall I give an example?
Sure, sir. Please do.
So let's say bank has lent $2 million to some corporate borrower in the form of secured senior debt. That means some assets have been taken as collateral and the loan has been disbursed. Okay. So I'm reading this entire point, Abhijit. So 2 million debt has been given. Due to the underperformance, the borrower is currently at risk of defaulting on its debt obligation. So the bank is attempting to estimate how much it could lose as preparation for the worst case scenario. So this is the borrower. He has been given $2 million debt because the company, he wants that, and the bank has taken security for that reason, some assets as collateral. Now the borrower is facing some risk, and now the bank have understood that the payments which were supposed to be coming from the borrower are not coming promptly, and there's a worst case scenario there can be a scenario whereby this borrower can default, and they're estimating that worst case scenario, and they assume that recovery rate to bank lender is 90%. Suppose the recovery rate is 90%. Okay. Correct. But that means they're estimating the recovery rate to be on higher end. 90% is what they can recover.
Agreed. Huh.
How are they estimating? See, they took collateral, na? They took assets from that particular borrower, correct?
Yes,
so
now they have
now
taken the assets against which they made the loan.
Yeah, so now if they sell those assets even, they will get 90% of it, it seems. So they are asking you, what is the loss given default? What is the formula for loss given default?
Exposure at default into the probability.
Yeah, 1 minus recovery rate into exposure amount, correct?
Huh.
So the exposure amount here is $2 million. Recovery rate is, so the loss given default is 200,000. Okay.
Yes.
This is the estimated loss to the bank. That means if the recovery rate is nothing but they have taken collateral from this guy, na? they will sell those assets and they'll recover this much. So they will, so whatever they'll recover. So the expected, so if 90% is recovered, 10% is not recovered. That means 10% is the loss to them. Am I right? Hello?
So.
Understood?
Huh.
If 90% is the recovery rate, 10% is not recovered, na? So that 10% is the loss for them. So we have finished this chapter even, Abhijit. If you want, like, shall I give you the PDFs of this and that?
Yes, sir, please do.
Okay, so this is done. The next topic, next we have already discussed, Abhijit. We'll do 2 topics from FRM in the coming class. You want me to explain VAR in the coming class?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so shall we go for VAR in the coming class?
Okay, that'll be great.
Fine, so we'll do VAR in the coming session. And one more topic we'll take from FRM. So 2 topics in this week, days, and weekend again, only statistics, that is quants. Fine.
Please, thank you.
Thank you, Abhijit. So today enough, na? This much what we have done, or you want
Yes,
one more session?
I have stuff to do. I mean, I also have to practice now.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking. If it's enough, okay, then we'll